Oh, there are so many yummy vegetarian options out there. You could try like lentil soup, veggie burgers, tofu stir fry. The possibilities are endless. Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're getting into something that is, quite literally, the engine of any business understanding your costs. We're going to break down the huge difference between fixed and variable costs. And trust me, getting this right isn't just some boring accounting thing, it's the bedrock for how you price your products and ultimately whether you make a profit. So let's jump right in.
You know what? To make this really stick, let's build a business together, right here, right now. Imagine we're starting a cool workshop, making these beautiful, high-end, custom wooden tables. We've got the idea, we've got the passion, but the very first, most fundamental question we have to answer is this: what does it actually cost to make just one of those tables?
All right, so to tackle that big question, our first mission is to figure out the cost of producing a single table. Because before we can even think about profit margins or anything like that, we have to know exactly what we're spending on our very first product. The first kind of costs we're going to look at is called a variable cost. Now, it's a little bit of a brain bender at first. The cost for each individual table is always the same, but the total amount you spend goes up with every single table you build. Think of these as the hands-on costs, the actual wood, the screws, the person hours that go into building one specific item. So, for our custom table business, let's break it down. We've found this amazing supplier for a premium tabletop that's going to run us $500. Then, of course, every table needs 4 legs. Let's say those cost $50 each, so that's another $200. And finally, we've got our amazing craftsperson who takes 2 hours to assemble and finish each table, and we pay them $40 an hour. So that's $80 in direct labor. You add all of that up, the top, the legs, the labor, and you land at $780. And this is so important. That's our variable cost per table. Every single time a finished table rolls out of our workshop, we know we have spent exactly $780 to create it. That number is our ground zero. And this chart just shows it perfectly. It's a straight line, right? If we make one table, our total variable cost is $780. A customer orders 5 tables, okay, well that's 5 times $780, which is $3,900. 10 tables, $7,800. It's a simple, direct, one-to-one relationship. The more we make, the more we spend in total. Super predictable. Okay, awesome. We know exactly what it costs to build a table, but that's not the whole story, is it? We've still got to pay for the workshop itself, the insurance, the electricity, and that brings us to the other major cost category, the cost of just keeping the lights on. And this is our second big concept, fixed costs. Now, these are the total opposite of variable costs. The total amount you pay is the same every single month, no matter what. These costs just don't care if you build 0 tables or 1,000 tables. You owe the money, period. So for our new table business, let's say all of our monthly fixed costs add up to $20,000. This big number covers all that essential overhead, the rent for our workshop, the business insurance, utilities like heat and electricity, and the salaries for our office manager and the workshop supervisor. It's the same predictable bill month in and month out. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. Check out how fixed costs work when you look at them on a per table basis. If we only manage to make 10 tables one month, each of those tables has to carry a massive $2,000 of that fixed cost. But look what happens if we ramp up production to 1,000 tables. That same $20,000 gets spread so thin that each table is only carrying $20 of it. That is the magic of scaling up your business. So let's imagine our business is a hit. People absolutely love our tables. The orders are pouring in. This is great news, right? Well, yeah, but it also creates a brand new kind of problem. It turns out that success can sometimes bring on a whole new set of costs. And this brings us to a super important idea called the relevant range. So here's the catch. Those fixed costs, well, they aren't really fixed forever. They're only fixed within a certain window of activity. Think of it like the maximum capacity of your current setup. For our little workshop, let's say our current relevant range is somewhere between 0 and 1,000 tables a month. With the space we have, the equipment we own, and our one awesome supervisor, that's the absolute most we can possibly produce. And as long as we stay inside that range, whether we make just 1 table or 999, our monthly fixed cost holds steady at that $20,000 number we talked about. It's stable, it's predictable, it's, well, fixed. But then, it happens. We get a massive order. A huge client wants a batch that will push us to make our 1,001st table in a single month. This is amazing, but it's also a huge problem. We've hit a wall. We're literally out of space, and our supervisor can't handle any more work. So to make that 1,001st table, we have to expand. We have to go out and rent a second workshop and hire a second supervisor. And just like that, bam, our fixed costs take a giant leap. They literally double to $40,000 a month. Accountants have a cool name for this. They call it a step cost because it doesn't creep up, it jumps up in one big step. We've just entered a whole new relevant range. So let's just do a quick recap to lock this in. It's kind of like they're opposites. Variable costs, they're fixed for each unit, but the total changes. Fixed costs, they change for each unit, but the total is fixed, as long as you stay in your relevant range. Getting that difference is everything. Okay, so we've got variable costs in one bucket, fixed costs in another. But the real world is never quite that clean, is it? Some costs actually have a little bit of both, which brings us to our third type, mixed costs. And it's pretty much what it sounds like. A mixed cost is a single expense that has both a fixed part and a variable part baked into it. You pay a certain base amount no matter what, and then you pay extra based on how much you use something. Here's a perfect real-world example. Let's say we rent a special machine for finishing the wood on our tables. The rental contract says we pay a flat $8,000 a year just to have the machine sitting in our workshop. That's our fixed component. But the contract also says that if we use it for more than 10,000 hours in a year, we have to pay an extra dollar for every single hour over that limit. And that's the variable component kicking in. All right, we've covered a lot of ground, so let's bring it all home and talk about why this all matters. We've gone to all this trouble to separate our costs into these different buckets, variable, fixed, mixed, but why? What's the big deal? Well, because this isn't just about accounting homework. This is basically the cockpit of your business. Understanding your cost structure is how you set a price that will actually make you a profit. It's how you can plan a budget for next year that's actually accurate. And maybe most importantly, it's how you make smart, data-driven decisions about growth, like knowing the exact moment it makes sense to open that second workshop. So I'm going to leave you with one final thought to chew on. Based on everything we've talked about, we know our variable cost per table is $780, and our fixed costs are $20,000 a month. So the ultimate question for our new business is this: how many tables do we actually need to sell every month just to break even? Answering that question, well, that's the start of building a truly successful business.